Hey everybody, not quite sharing screen yet, Emily, so
not yet?
it's okay.
I see it.
Let's see here.
I know.
You see it?
But I wanted to introduce you, so
Oh.
and say a few things.
Gotcha.
Everybody,
Okay.
and if I talk, there I am. Hey everybody, this is Kevin Hallinan. I am a professor in the Renewable and Clean Energy program, and this is the fourth talk in our Clean Energy Speaker Series this spring 2021 semester, as we celebrate the end of the first year of COVID shutdown in the United States. What a wonderful celebration day it is. We're quite optimistic about the next year, however. This is something that we're going to keep continuing year after year after year. We have another speaker actually next Monday. I'll provide some more details about. I'm really excited about the speaker this evening. Her name is Emily Burns, and she's going to talk to you about I'll say that really softly, like revolve. So it starts little and then gets big. And in fact, that kind of is what you're going to hear from her. It started little, but it has the potential for really big. And really excited by something that is student-led and run all over the country. Emily is a senior mechanical engineering student with aspirations to move into graduate school in kind of work that takes engineering and brings it into public policy and urban planning, and real excited about what she's able to do downstream. Emily is the first of speaker that we've had in this series who is actually an undergraduate in engineering. One of the, and why it's so important that she's speaking is that it's, she shows that a young person can have impact. And anyway, with no further ado, I'd like to introduce Emily Burns. The speaker, you got control now, Emily.
Thank you, Kevin. I'll just share screen real quick. I'm also excited. This is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. Working with the nonprofit Revolve and kind of how I got kind of involved with them and what they do and why what they do is important. So this evening, we're going to kind of talk about, my background and then kind of going into trends in the solar field, because it is a very exciting field to be a part of. And then going into some kind of overview of solar financing, and then how Revolve is helping nonprofits across the country, and especially here in Dayton with our UD team. And then we can have a little discussion at the end. So my background, as Kevin said, I am a mechanical engineering undergrad. I'm a senior. I also have a concentration in energy systems. So I have a real interest in renewable energy and what that can mean for, people getting access to electricity who may not have had access, as well as getting lower rates and just being better for the environment and being more energy independent. So I've been involved with the Revolve Solar Ambassador Program since I was a freshman, so 4 years now. I've also had some involvement with Ethos. I did a breakout to Guatemala and El Salvador after my sophomore year. So that's where that picture is from. The horse's name is Tequila, got me up a mountain. I've also done a few co-ops with HEP Engineering here in Dayton, as well as at GB Aviation down in their Evendale location. And I'm also a Chaminade Scholar here at UD. So really kind of looking closer at vocation and how my gifts can match up with what the world needs and what I'm passionate about. So that's kind of how I really got into sustainability and renewable energy. So then looking at some trends in solar, like I said, it's a bright future. Solar industry jobs are increasing. There is a 55% growth projected from 2019 to 2029. So it's not slowing down anytime soon. And then looking at the first chart, the solar industry jobs by sector, the solar employment actually increased by 44% between 2014 and 2019. So we're already seeing a large increase in people getting involved in the solar industry. And then the second graph is very interesting because it kind of shows how the more people install solar, the cheaper solar gets. So it has that kind of compounding effect of, as soon as you have a few people investing and a few people getting solar installed, the price goes down, the more people are willing to invest in getting those systems installed. And then it continues going down, and you eventually see that the prices are very competitive and in some cases lower than what is being sold on the grid. So this is something that I saw was very interesting, just projected for 2021 about where the US is kind of putting its attention in generating more electricity. And so you can see that a very large part of what they are investing in and where they're putting this capacity addition towards is solar and wind. So there's really renewable sources, with natural gas only being 16%, and coal is not really even on this wheel. So it's a bright field to be in. And it's important to make sure that everyone has access to solar and to this industry and is able to be a part of it. So that kind of takes me into solar financing. And a large part of that is having incentives for solar installment. So there's the federal investment tax credit that started in 2006. And this was a 30% tax credit for people who installed solar, either residentially or businesses installing it commercially. And so that's huge for people who are able to get that benefit from installing these systems, because these solar systems are typically thousands of dollars. And so having a 30% tax incentive really makes it more feasible. And now the investment tax credit is decreasing. So right now it is currently at 26%, and it stepped down last year. And it's slated to step down again in 2023, unless it gets extended again. And then by 2024, it'll be down to 10% for commercial purposes and 0% for residents. So I think before this credit goes away, there will be a definite increase in solar installations, unless they can get it extended again, which has already happened once. And so this tax credit was intended to kind of grow and promote the solar industry, because how I mentioned that before looking at the trends, once you start getting people investing in solar, it makes it more accessible to more people. And so this tax credit has played a part, certainly, in getting people who were able to invest in solar already at those kind of high costs to invest in it and have that tax benefit. One important thing to note is that businesses who don't pay taxes, such as nonprofits and co-ops, don't get this tax credit benefit. And so they are kind of have that prohibiting factor again, because they're not getting these incentives. They're not getting monetary benefits from going solar. They're kind of left out of the loop in that sense. And so then actually going solar, there's three kind of primary paths that you could take. The first is customer owned. So this is where the customer will buy the panels up front. They're essentially paying for 20 years of electricity right off the bat in one fell swoop, which is why these systems tend to be so costly. And so a lot of residents and businesses, if they don't have that upfront cost, are able to apply for loans through kind of a more traditional solar financing model. And it can be very difficult for nonprofits to prove their credit worthiness in order to get those loans. And so that's kind of another avenue that's kind of not available to them. And so they then kind of go towards, well, there's a few third-party options. Third-party organizations will provide panels. They will install them on the roof of buildings, whether that's residential or commercial. And the company owns the panels, but the customer is then able to use the energy produced by those panels. And this is either through a power purchase agreement or PPA, or through a lease agreement. So the power purchase agreement is where it's a little more similar to the traditional utility structure. So the customer will pay for the energy output of the solar array. Whereas the lease agreement, it's a flat monthly rate and it's based off of the estimated power production of the system. So this is something that you'll see upfront. Whatever proposal is given to you, you'll see kind of the monthly payment up until the end of the lease agreement. And it can be difficult too for nonprofits to get a third-party organization to fund one of these two options, because the systems that they are generally installing are small systems. And it's not always worth it necessarily for a for-profit company or organization to put those panels on there. They're just not going to get enough return on their investment to make it worth it. And so that can be another inhibiting factor for nonprofits. They're kind of out of luck in a lot of sense. They don't get the tax benefits. They don't, it's not easy for them to get loans. A lot of organizations, just won't install these small system sizes that they need. And so Andreas Karelas, in 2011, he founded the nonprofit RE-volv. And so RE-volv is a nonprofit based out of San Francisco, California, that helps other nonprofits around the country kind of overcome those hurdles and actually provides them a financing option so that they can take full advantage of all the benefits solar has to offer, both economically and environmentally. And so that's kind of the reason they focus on nonprofits, because there was this gap in the marketplace for these small to medium sized nonprofits. And nonprofits are also an excellent way to get visibility in a community. A lot of people, go to these nonprofits and they know the nonprofit. And so when they see solar panels installed on the roof of the nonprofit, it kind of sparks that conversation. And so they're able to learn about, solar energy. And a lot of times when a residence or a business goes solar in a community, you see a lot of times that other residents and other businesses start to go solar too. So it has a snowball effect. And so by be able to put solar on a very community-focused, community-centric nonprofit, you can inspire other people to go solar as well. Another reason that nonprofits are just awesome to work with and an excellent candidate for solar is that they're able to put the savings from their utility bills back into their programming, back into the community. And so it's just another kind of compounding effect where by saving money through their utility bills and through their electricity bills, they can then continue fulfilling their own mission. So RE-volv really tries to partner with these really community serving nonprofits in order to make the most impact and the most difference in a community. And the way they do that is through what they call the revolving solar seed fund. And so this is something that Andreas was inspired to do based off of a business model installing solar in African countries. And the way that it would work is that people would invest in these solar arrays, and then over time they would get their money back as the family or a community would kind of pay for that solar energy. And so Andreas kind of took this idea and thought that, and noticed that a lot of people who would invest their money in this kind of model would just continue investing that money again and again. So he said, well, why not make it a donation? Why not make it where people can invest in and just kind of donate to this solar seed fund and donate to these nonprofits? As the solar seed fund grows, and the way that the solar seed fund grows is that through funding a nonprofit and by creating a project, revolv owns the panels. So this is either a lease or a PPA agreement. And over time, month by month, the nonprofit will pay revolv back at usually a lower rate than they could get from a third-party organization that is for profit and trying to turn a profit, because revolv is also a nonprofit. So they're not looking to make money off of this. What they are doing, though, is they're taking whatever interest comes from the payments, and they're putting it back into this solar seed fund. And so the idea is that by funding one project, the payments from that nonprofit will then go into funding 2 more projects, at least 2 more projects. And then the payments from those 2 nonprofits go on to fund 4 more nonprofit projects. And so there's this idea that using compounding interest, you can really grow this exponentially and really scale it up. And so that's kind of what this chart shows, that, traditional solar financing, you put your money in, then you get the money back with interest, and you just kind of keep doing that again and again. But with the revolving solar seed fund, you're really able to continue investing in these nonprofits and within these communities, just more and more. So I think the idea is that, once they reach a certain number of nonprofits, each month they will be able to take the payments from those nonprofits and fund a new project, which is a really exciting prospect and a really exciting model, which could actually be applied to a lot of different climate solutions. And so it's a real opportunity for people to put a little bit and make it go a long way. And so then where revolv is right now is kind of down there at the bottom. You can see some stats that they have. So they have 43 nonprofits projects that are funded right now, 2 of which are here in Dayton, and it's across 10 states. And they've invested almost $10 million in these nonprofits, so they can really take full advantage of the benefits of going solar, which is just incredible when you think about all the people in these communities who see the nonprofits and who have been investing in these nonprofits and who might be interested now in going solar themselves or spreading the word, and is a really exciting prospect. But in order, so revolv has those kind of 3 main pillars. So empower, so they're empowering, volunteers like me to go into communities and kind of put solar on community serving nonprofits, but they're also empowering the nonprofits through having some form of energy independence through these solar panels, and allowing them to kind of continue their mission and further their mission in sometimes a big way. And then invest. And so invest is very important because, climate solutions take money. That's just the way it is. And so by kind of investing within the nonprofit sector in particular, because there was a huge gap where they really weren't being serviced, Revolve has kind of found a way to make an impact through their investments. And they've caught the attention of some other organizations as well. A few years back, the Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation got involved, and they did a matching donation for a lot of projects that were going on at the time, including one here in Dayton that I'll talk about in a little bit. And so it's something that gets people excited. You know, they're able to do something kind of tangible in the community. They can kind of see where their money is going and what impact they're having. And the third pillar is educate. And so a large part of solar and climate solutions in general is just, you know, being able to get the word out about the benefits of technology, that the technology works. I get a lot of questions about, does solar actually work here in Ohio? Yes, it does. And so just being able to have conversations with people is super important. And you get to have those conversations when you go into the community and you're talking with the nonprofits, you're talking with the people they serve. And you can have some really, really great moments of kind of sustainable awareness. And so in order to really get into those communities where you can start having those conversations, Revolve put together the Solar Ambassador Program in 2014. Because in order to reach communities, you have to kind of be near the community. And so with being in San Francisco, they wanted a way to really reach out to people across the country, nonprofits across the country, and really get invested in what these nonprofits are doing and, you know, kind of their missions. So they recruited college students to kind of act as a go-between between the nonprofit and Revolve. And so it's these student ambassadors who are the ones who are finding the nonprofits, who are meeting with the nonprofits, who are having those crucial conversations to get them interested and excited about going solar. And so the University of Dayton team, we were formed in 2015. So we were one of the early ones, actually. And so we have two solar arrays that have been installed at nonprofits here in the Dayton community, particularly the Twin Towers neighborhood. And those two projects were crowdfunded. And so up until 2019, Solar Ambassadors also were in charge of kind of setting up and running crowdfunding campaigns in order to raise the money, the upfront money for the solar arrays we were installing. We don't have to do that anymore because Revolve in 2019, they partnered with the investor Trisolaris. And so for the next 3 years, they're actually putting the cost of, they are kind of funding the cost of the solar arrays and so the solar systems, which is really exciting because that means that the Solar Ambassadors are able to focus more on that community outreach and reaching nonprofits. And they don't have to spend as much time, you know, trying to raise these large sums of money. For being involved in two crowdfunding campaigns, I can say it's definitely freed our team up a little bit to really get involved in the community and the nonprofits we're serving. We now have more time to go volunteer at each of the nonprofits to really kind of see what their mission is on kind of a firsthand basis. And also I'll be able to kind of give back to them. So it is a partnership that we are striving for. And that picture up at the top, that's from the 2019 Solar Ambassador Leadership Summit. And so each person there is from a different university that is involved with the Solar Ambassador Program. And so it's exciting to think about that at each of those universities, there are nonprofits that have solar installed. because of these teams of college students going out and finding nonprofits and getting them excited about solar, and getting them to a point where they can actually install solar and get those economic benefits and keep furthering their mission. So here at the University of Dayton, our team, the first project we did was with Mission to Mary Cooperative in the Twin Towers neighborhood. And this was really exciting for us because it was the first project we had done. Sometimes it's hard to establish yourself within a community when you don't have, a project completed yet. And so they actually responded to a 2-year-old email asking if we were still around and if we were still interested in meeting with them to talk about going solar, which we were more than happy to talk with them about. And so we ended up raising the funds to install an 11.5 kilowatt system on their roof. And you can kind of see the installation in that bottom picture. And so Mission to Mary is currently net zero, not just from the solar array. They actually have a lot of other initiatives. They have geothermal installed, a lot of energy efficiency measures, a very cool facility. If you ever get the chance to check it out, highly recommend. They're doing some great things in the Twin Towers neighborhood for food security, as well as promoting sustainability. So it was really cool to be able to work with them for our first project because we do have a lot of kind of the same values and the same goals. And so that was very, very special for us. And so then our second one kind of came from our Mission to Mary project. And so East End Community Services is in the same neighborhood. And we got connected to them through Clean Energy for All. And we met with Jan, the executive director, and they already had some solar panels that were installed, but they were hoping to get more so that they could offset their electricity bill even more. So we were able to help them out, and we were able to get them up to 60% of their electricity from solar. And this is a slightly larger system, so it was 27 kilowatts. So we raised about $43,000 for that system. And we had a lot of community support, support for the University of Dayton, and just a lot of people who came together from across the country even to make that happen. And we also had some funds from that solar seed fund going into both of these projects. And so that was a large part of being able to get to that sum and get to that amount. And so I like this quote a lot. Until you dig a hole, you plant a tree, you water it and make it survive, you haven't done a thing, you're just talking. And I think that's really important when it comes to sustainability, when it comes to climate solutions, because there's a lot out there that we can do. There's a lot of technologies already out there and already available. And if we just talk about what we could do and what paths we can take, we're not going to actually get anywhere. And while it is important to have those discussions to make sure that, the path we're going in is equitable and will benefit the people who need it most, sometimes you have to get into the community and you have to talk with the people there, and you have to get some solar installed on some nonprofits in order to really start seeing that excitement build and seeing progress being made. And so we are definitely looking for people to join our team, even if you just know a cool nonprofit in the area that you've worked with before or volunteered at. If you want to get us in touch with them and be a part of that process, reach out to me. If you don't know any nonprofits in the area, reach out to me. We are in discussions with several interested nonprofits already who we'll be able to see some solar panels installed in the near future. So there's a lot of good things happening, especially here with our Dayton team going into the future that I am super excited about. And I think it'll be really cool when we can start seeing a lot of nonprofits going solar within our community and really seeing that impact that it makes. So I'll kind of open it up now to the floor. I don't know, either of you have questions or comments or thoughts.
Hey, Emily, this is really awesome. Thanks for doing this. Does Revolve have any involvement in community solar projects? Have they funded any of that type of model?
No, so Revolve is really focused just solely on nonprofits, just because that's where they see their kind of niche, their kind of like gap that they're trying to fill. There are a lot of companies out there who are doing like more community solar based and more residential and commercial, but not a lot solely focused on nonprofits. So.
All right, awesome, thanks. Then could you talk a little bit more about the process from the point you get in contact with the nonprofit and kind of how that goes from there, and maybe like how long it took to raise the funds for those two projects in Dayton?
Yeah. So when we get in contact, it's usually by either email or phone call. Usually it's kind of a cold call or cold email. It tends to work better when we have an introduction or someone who already knows us. But once we kind of establish that they're interested, we will set up a meeting, either through Zoom now, or we will still try to maybe go meet them in person someplace safely. And we kind of start talking a little bit more logistically. And so when we find nonprofits, the things we look for is that, one, they're well established in the community, and that they have good financial standing, because this is Revolve is going to be entering a 20-year agreement with them with these solar panels. And so we just want to make sure that they're not going to be going away within like the next year or two. And then we also try to, it helps if they own the building that they're kind of stationed in. We have done in the past, and other universities have, where the nonprofit doesn't own the building, and it's just a lot more hoops to jump through, because you have to go through a lot more people to get that approved. But it is possible. We do try to focus on nonprofits that own their building. And then we look for the conditions of the roof. Ideally, the roof is going to be less than 10 years old, because we don't want them to have to replace it within the next couple of years after we install the system. And so if they have plans to replace it soon, we'll work with them around that schedule. If the roof is in good structural condition and they don't have any plans to replace it in the next, I don't know, like 40 years, we'll talk with them about it and we'll see what we can do. But then once we have kind of that established and they're still interested, we will get the nonprofit's utility bills, so we can kind of see their energy use over the past year, to kind of get a good gauge of what size system we would need. And we send those utility bills actually to the National Revolve office, where they have a lot of people there who are working on developing proposals and who have a lot of experience within the solar field. And so they'll kind of pull together a proposal based off of what works best for the roof configuration, as well as just the sizing and what their energy needs are. And then the solar ambassadors will set up another meeting with the nonprofit to walk through that proposal and kind of help answer any questions they have, and to make sure that they understand everything up to this point is completely free of charge. There's no commitments. They can see the proposal and be like, we don't really need to go solar. Because some nonprofits just aren't in a good location to where it will always make sense. They might not have a good roof, might not be facing an ideal direction. But typically, we do try to get it to where the nonprofits are saving around 15% on their electric bill. If we can't do that, then we will be upfront about it. Typically, we don't have that issue, but we do try to be as transparent as possible throughout the process. And then once we get that proposal and they think it looks good, we'll draft up a lease agreement. And so our lease agreements are over a 20-year period. So is that fixed monthly rate, and it does kind of increase as the years go on slightly. But again, that interest just goes back into the Solar Seed Fund to fund other nonprofits. And then Revolve will take care of all operations and maintenance. They're the ones owning the panels. They're the ones taking care of the panels. They make sure they're cleaned. And they use local installers when installing the panels as well. So for the two projects we worked on with Mission to Mary and East End Community Services, we worked with Bob Cisco from Ohio Power Solutions, and he did both of those installations. And so we've had a great working relationship with him. Hopefully, as we get more nonprofits going solar, we'll be able to open it up to other local installers, so that we're not kind of overburdening Bob. But yeah, and then so for your question about how long it took to do like the crowdfunding part, we don't have to do that anymore, thankfully. We just have the upfront cost, but the crowdfunding would take, it kind of varies. So the first one we did took about a semester. We started it in the spring and then we ended it. Well, we started it at the beginning of spring semester and we ended it towards the end. And then East End Community Services went on a little bit longer because it was a larger project. So, several months to really finalize that. And then the panels were installed for Mission to Mary. They were installed that next summer. And then East End, we pushed it back a little bit just because of Bob's schedule. So they were installed last year in March. And we were going to have a ribbon cutting for it. And then COVID hit in full force. And so we had to delay that. And so we're actually in the process right now of setting up the release of kind of a ribbon cutting video in essence. So just something to really kind of celebrate, them making that milestone of having that 60% electricity from solar and the good things they've been able to do from having that.
Okay, yeah, thanks for the explanation. I guess last question from me for now. What kind of methods do you use to reach out to the community to do those things like crowdfunding? Like, do you go to local businesses and ask? Like, do you target, I don't know, like renewable energy companies specifically, or like how do you do that?
Yeah, so with the crowdfunding, we would go to businesses in the area to see if they would be interested in kind of supporting this project and kind of framing it as another sort of partnership. So if they like contribute funds, we'll give them like a shout out on social media. And then we also, we primarily did communicate through social media. That was the brunt of our campaigning, especially for East End. We would also we would reach out to our personal networks, and then we would ask the nonprofits to kind of reach out to their networks. We had press releases in news outlets. we had some more coverage for Mission to Mary, where we had some really good news coverage, like at the beginning of our campaign and kind of throughout, where we'd kind of give updates, and then we had a good kind of final cover story after we had reached our goal of that $32,000, and we were going to be able to get it installed. So I think there's definite room for us to be able to reach out even more. We had started kind of small, and we didn't have too much of a footing when we started off. And so a lot of it just came from our personal networks, but we definitely reached out to other organizations in the area, especially businesses, with like takeovers and other avenues like that.
All right, yeah, that's great. And this is more of a personal question, just because I know you from school and I know you're graduating soon. Are you planning to stay involved in kind of like the national network of this? I assume you're gonna have to pass like the UD team on to someone, but I just wondered like how, if you're staying involved or where you go next.
Yeah, I definitely want to bring Revolve to wherever I end up. They have, instead of the Solar Ambassador program, they have what they call the Solar Champion program, or they just have Solar Champions, where if an individual in a community where like there's not a Solar Ambassador program set up, they're able to kind of get in touch with Revolve and kind of go through the same process that the Solar Ambassadors do, but kind of on their own. They're able to still get solar on nonprofits in their area that they think would really benefit from it. It would be a good fit for the program. I'm planning on going to grad school somewhere, so we'll see. Hopefully, I can get some Solar Ambassador program going there as well. Extend the network a little bit more. And it's definitely important too to keep it going here at Dayton, especially with all the progress we've made the past couple of years. So I think it's very exciting to see where UD RE-volv is going to go next. We have a few new members this year who are really passionate about where this is going, and we're always open to new people too. Kind of, it's a great opportunity to get out into the community and meet people you might not have met just staying on campus. And so this is probably one of the most impactful experiences for my college career, I would say, in terms of being able to get out and actually see these systems being installed and meet with community members and make an impact.
Awesome.
Emily,
Thank you.
Emily, I have a couple, one point. So one of the things is we have Dr. Jason here all the way from Canada by way of Bellbrook, Ohio. He actually has a Ohio Buildings programs, an energy efficiency program through the state, funded through the state of Ohio. Andrew, I actually think that there might be opportunities, especially when you're looking at nonprofits, to draw a direct linkage to the RE-volv organization here. Does that make sense?
It does, eh? But we've been actually recommending solar on some buildings, but I never thought to include RE-volv, so I'd be interested to hear about that. So we do a lot of audits for K-12 schools, and those would certainly be nonprofit.
Maybe. Is that
Maybe,
true,
yeah.
Emily?
We looked into schools. I think it just depends on the school, but there are some nonprofit ones for sure.
Yeah.
If they're not strictly nonprofit, I wonder if there's, for lack of a better word, like a I don't know if loophole is the right word, but somehow a pass through or some kind of could a nonprofit somehow own the equipment and work through the school to, you know, use it as a learning tool or something for the school. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud.
Mhm. Yeah, that could be an interesting proposal.
Emily, this is, how about we close with this question, if that's okay, everybody. Emily, we're going to be sending this video out to first year and second year students at the University of Dayton. Relative to Revolve, what would you like to say to them with as much enthusiasm as you can elicit? What would you like to say to them?
Well, I mean, I would just say that this is such a great opportunity for you to get leadership experience, for you to have something to put in your resume you can talk about. There's a lot of opportunity to become kind of a leader within the community for solar and really know how to talk about solar and how to approach conversations, which is it's a great skill to be able to have, that communication factor. And it's something that I've definitely been able to learn more and hone throughout my years with Revolve. And it's also just a great network. It's, like I mentioned, it's nationwide. There's people in schools across the country who are involved in this and who are great resources that you can also lean on after you graduate. And National Revolve is also super invested in the Solar Ambassador program. So they meet with us like monthly. I have a great relationship with the executive director, Andreas, who would be an excellent, you know, reference down the line for jobs. And so it's really, I would say it's sort of a unique experience and opportunity that you don't want to pass up. That's all I have to say.
I would add one more thing. Not only do students need Revolve and the experience and everything that it offers and the growth opportunities and leadership opportunities it provides, frankly, Revolve needs students. So we need you, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
good. So Emily, I'm gonna take the screen over and close this out.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Let's give Emily, those of us who are still here, let's give her a hand. Yay. Nice job, Emily. That was beautiful. Hey, we're going to get this out to video to a lot of people. And we're finding that for these speakers, series, seminars, we have a lot more people coming in virtually than in a virtual Zoom session. So we're going to put it on YouTube and also get it distributed around campus. Okay.
Awesome.
Hey, everybody, I just wanted to share my screen to let you know when our next speaker is. I'm excited about our next speaker. Her name is Nicole Hannes. She is at Berkeley Lab. It's actually part of, it's actually, she's in the Electricity Markets and Policy Department at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory. She has a PhD from Carnegie Mellon in Earth and actually Engineering and Public Policy from Carnegie Mellon. She's a brilliant lady, has a lot to say, and the title of her talk is going to be "A Career in Energy Needs Not Be the Perfect Fig in a Tree of Options." And I don't think this is her swinging on a fig tree, but it may be, I'm not sure. Anyway, that's going to be next Monday, March 15th, also from 7 to 8, same Zoom channel. And hope to have some of you join us then. Anyway, once again, Emily, thank you so much for your time And frankly, your awesome presentation. You got me convinced. So, anyway, thank you so much. It's been so fun to see you emerge from that first year, probably not knowing much, to frankly being an incredible expert now. So once again, thanks a lot. And thank you all here for attending. See some of you next time. Bye. Great job, Emily.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm going
Glad
to close
to be a
this out,
part of it.
everybody. Take care, all. Jack, set up an appointment with me if you ever want to talk, okay?
Will do.
All righty. Take care.